In this lesson, we'll learn an animator-friendly approach to controlling morph targets, and we'll also take a look at ways we can clean up our scenes after we're finished with our target meshes. Now, we can always use a custom parameter to control our morph target. I'd also like to point out that in facial rigging in 3ds Max, in that course, we cover yet another way you can create a control system I think you'll really enjoy. But let's say we go ahead and add this custom parameter to our head control. So with our head selected, we'll go ahead and first add an attribute holder. Let's go ahead and find it. There it is. We'll rename it to extra controls. Great. And now we're ready to create a custom parameter. So we'll go ahead and use Alt-1 to access our parameter editor. Let's go ahead and name this Smile. All right, everything else is good. We want our from and to range set to 0 and 100. And we're now ready to click on Add. All right, so now we can go ahead and work with our wiring dialog. So with our head control selected, we'll go ahead and right-click and choose Wire Parameters. It's going to be Modified Object, Extra Controls, Custom Attribute, Smile. And now we'll go ahead and click on our mesh. It's going to be Modified Object. We'll go ahead and search for Modified Object, and then Morpher. And here we have it, our morph target. So once we've selected that, it's just a direct tie-in. Let's go ahead and connect. Now we'll go ahead and test this out. So you'll see that we no longer have a smile, but now we can go ahead and cause our imp to turn his frown the other way around. All right, cool stuff. Great, so once we have connected into that morph target, we can then go ahead and think about how to clean up our scene. I would like to mention that you can get rid of this morph mesh. It's already been baked into our base mesh. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what happens. Watch, when we grab our mesh and go to our morpher modifier, you'll see right now its channel is green, meaning that not only is there morph data, but the target still exists. If we were to grab that target and delete it, let's go back to the morpher modifier, and you'll see that the channel is now blue, letting us know that there's morph data, but the mesh does not exist. But you'll see that the smile still works. Let's go back to our control object and start to use it. So why not just go ahead and get rid of all of those morph meshes? Well, think about it. If we ever need to go back and make a correction, we cannot because the mesh is removed. So let's make sure we go ahead and undo back to bring our target mesh back. All right, great. So how can we optimize our scenes then so that we don't have so much data? Because as we start to create more and more morph shapes, of course, that's more and more meshes that are added to our scene. So we end up with a larger file. Now think about it. What we can do here is create two files. One that is our rig file that holds all of our targets, and then we can go ahead and have a file that has all of those targets removed. So we're just left with the result of those target meshes, those expressions. So that I find to be a great approach, a great way to kind of optimize your files that animators would work with. Now in this case, let's say we go ahead and take our morph mesh. Let's go ahead and head over to layers, and we'll have that stored in a morph layer. So with it selected, we'll go ahead and create a new layer. Make sure the default layer is active, and let's go ahead and name this morph. All right, great. So now we can go ahead and hide that layer, and what we're left with is something that looks very clean. Now speaking of hiding layers, feel free to just go through and start to hide the layers that we don't need to work with. So that's the hidden layer. IKs is already hidden. The model layer we'll want to go ahead and freeze down so we don't accidentally select our mesh. And the morph layer is already hidden. Feel free to also hide the skeleton as well. And what we're left with is a very clean rig. Beautiful stuff. So that's basically it for this level. We have sure learned a lot about cleaning up our transforms on constrained objects. We've learned how to create a dynamic parent system. We also learned how to work with more advanced expressions to create something like a banking rig for our feet using conditional statements. Really cool stuff. And then don't forget about the finger rig that we have added just to make it a little bit more friendly for animators. So feel free to go through any lessons you might be unclear about, because again, once you start to get more and more familiar with these techniques, you can start to use them in cooler ways, and that is where things get really interesting. All right, but that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll go ahead and go over your assignment for Level 2.